Back again with another Furio Watchers video. This one all about the best samples from the 90s. To me, the 90s is my absolute favourite era. It's the era that I grew up listening to hip hop in, and there's just so many amazing tracks. Some absolutely amazing albums came out during the 90s too. Before we get into that, 5 years since I dropped my first album out on Bandcamp. To celebrate that, I'm giving it away free for a limited period. There's a link in description, so click on that and you can download that album, keep it forever. I've got 6 albums out in total, so you can have a check of the others as well, and if it's something you're interested in, the others, you can download and keep those as well. So, 90s hip hop, let's have a check, let's see what's first up. So starting off in 1990, we're going to go through and listen to a few from each year in the 90s. This one's such a classic, LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. Real standout track from the 90s. Sly and the Family Stone sample as well. Absolutely love Sly and the Family Stone. So funky. I've listened to them for a long time and it's still a regular on my playlist. So let's see what the next track is.
Brothers are amused by other brothers' reps, but the thing you know best is where the gun is kept. Cause in the night you'll feel fright.
Gangstar, Just to Get a Rep. Probably one of the standout tracks off their Step in the Arena album. This was really before Primo started chopping up the samples. This is really just a straight up loop, but really good use of that, and a classic 90s hip hop track from Gangstar there.
Step to the rear, Grandpa was on arrival. Raised in the ghetto, singing songs called Survival. Running around town, giving all the girls booba snacks.
Brand Nubian, Step to the Rear, off their debut album, One for All. Obviously known for Grand Pooba, Sada X, and being from that group. The other standout track from that same album, Slow Down, which I've shown on one of my other videos. So let's see what the next track is.
When I came out with my first rap jam, I had no idea that the record was slam. It did real good without radio play.
So the OJ's sample there, they started out in the late 50s under the name The Mascots. One of their singles was played on the radio quite a lot by a Cleveland DJ called Eddie OJ. And in tribute to that, they actually changed their name from The Mascots to the OJs. So there's the origin of their name. The sample used there by EPMD was actually used a year earlier by Gangstar on their debut album, but that came out in '89, and this is about 90s samples. So let's see what the next track is. Kool and the Gang, another group that have been sampled hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. This sample's taken off one of the live albums, and if you are into your sampling, it's well worth checking live albums as well, because they'll have different versions of tracks. You can often get some really great, unique samples from the live versions. Ice Cube's debut album, so this came out after he'd left NWA. Few diss tracks on there, still a solid album today. So Quincy Jones with Ironside Theme, been sampled quite a lot of times, that track. TV soundtracks as well, well worth sampling from. You can get some really great things from them. Above the Law, they were signed to Ruthless Records, which is Eazy-E's label, and this track was produced by Above the Law and Dr. Dre as well. So yeah, great West Coast track from 1990. Let's see what the next one is. Isaac Hayes sample there. Another one that's from a movie soundtrack. Again, movie soundtracks are so great when you're looking for samples. You can get some real good stuff from there. Isaac Hayes, legend, been sampled hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. Very, very popular. Ghetto Boys, great track as well. Obviously known for Bushwick Bill, Scarface, and they've had their solo careers as well. So let's see what the next track is.
I heard you got the fever for the flavor. I heard you got the fever for the flavor. Somebody said you had it going on.
Perfect example there of how chopping a sample, you can completely change the rhythm, completely change the feel of it. So that has been flipped into this great track by Black Sheep. Average White Band sample there. They had huge success in the USA, but they're actually all from Scotland. Another group that have been sampled many, many different times in hip hop. This example, Ice Cube's second album, great track. Let's see what the next one is.
1991 and NWA get the job done. Admiral Dancehall gonna sing this little tale about a girl that's quick.
Bob James, he's one of the most sampled people ever. He's been used on so many different hip hop tracks over the years. Really, really great artist. If you've not listened to his albums, I'd really recommend you do. You'll sit listening to them and you will just be recognising sample after sample. Used on the NWA track, came out in 91, so this is after Ice Cube had left them, and it was also the final album that NWA produced.
Boogie jobbing rap is life where I'm from. Where I'm from, I might play with Izzy where I'm from. Where I'm from, it be like run your coat black.
KC and the Sunshine Band put out the majority of their albums during the 70s, sampled for Diggable Planets, along with A Tribe Called Quest. These are one of the great jazz hip-hop groups of the 90s. Pretty much all their tracks sample jazz tracks in particular. So let's see what the next track is. Another sample from Kool and the Gang there, so showing yet again how popular they are in hip hop. Ever Being Rakim track, Don't Sweat the Technique, big track at the time, and it was also the last album that they actually put out together as a group.
On and on and on and on. I can't stop, y'all, until the early morning.
Big Sur Sweet, very popular track for sampling in hip hop. I showed the Dr. Dre example in the previous video that I did. Beastie Boys' use of it, really good. And that's another group who I went to see live back in 94, I think it was. That was a really good concert as well. So let's see what the next track is.
You're faking the funk. You're faking the funk. You're faking the funk. You're faking the funk.
Main Source, Faking the Funk. Released as a 12-inch, but it also appeared, it was part of the White Men Can't Jump movie soundtrack. Not the actual main soundtrack. There was a second one released in the same year called White Men Can't Rap. and it appeared on that version only. Main Source, great group, gave Nas his debut as well. So let's see what the next track is. Gangstar track there off the Daily Operation album in '92. This is when Primo really started adding his scratching, really showing off how much his scratches can add value to the tracks. I've got the original pressing of this Daily Operation album on vinyl, and the quality is shocking. To me, it just sounds like all bass in the mix. Really sort of muffled sound on it, not good at all. So I think I need to look out for a reissue, see if it's actually clearer. Anyway, let's see what the next track is.
Step to me, you're over. Brothers wanna flex, you're not Mad Cobra. MC short and black, there ain't no other.
Michael Urbaniak, born in Poland and then moved over to the USA in the early 70s. Sampled by A Tribe Called Quest. You cannot have a video about 90s hip hop and not include Tribe Called Quest. Absolutely amazing group, one of my favourites ever, and they do like to sample some quite obscure music like this one. Ahmad Jamal, legendary jazz musician who we unfortunately lost earlier this year. He's been sampled a huge amount of times, and that particular track has also been used quite a lot of different times as well. Great use of it there on Black Moon's debut album, really great track. Let's see what the next one is. Great KRS track there, produced by Primo. It's one where Primo was scratched in various bits of speech from BDP and KRS-One off previous tracks. Really great album, that Return of the Boom Bap, and it was KRS-One's first solo album.
You gotta flow, Joe. You gotta flow, Joe. You gotta let 'em know, Joe.
Sampled off the Hawaii Five-0 soundtrack, Flow Joe. Crazy that, I was actually just listening to that in the car yesterday. Really great track from the 90s, and off Fat Joe's debut album. Les McCann there, someone else that's been sampled quite a lot of times. He's also put quite a lot of albums out over the years. Great Mobb Deep track there off the second album, The Infamous. Few featured artists on that. Big Noid, Raekwon, Ghostface Killer. Classic album from the 90s. So let's see what the next track is.
They'll never take me alive. I'm getting high with my 4-5. Cocked on these suckers, time to die. Even as a youngster, causing ruckus on the back of the bus.
Earl Clue there, great jazz guitarist. One of his earliest albums, that, from 1976. Written by him and Dave Grusin as well. Flipped quite a nice sounding track there into something pretty hardcore sounding on the 2-pack track. I think it works really well, that one.
I'm out to bomb like Vietnam under the same name, Tame One. The bad one, ink flow master bastard with the magnum. I tags him quick and then I steps to the exit when
Artifacts there, Tame One and Elder Sensei. They also used an alias Brick City Kids, and they put out 112. It's one that I own, that I bought at the time. Real underground track. I really do like it a lot though. If you've not listened to it, look up Brick City Kids. The track there, Wrong Side of the Tracks. Pretty big track from the 90s that. Really like it. Let's see what the next one is.
Even though we had different daddies, the same drama when things went wrong, we blame mama. I remember
Joe Sample, In My Wildest Dreams. Good album that. It's one that I managed to pick up pretty cheap last year. Local record shop, the guy that runs that, told him that I was into sampling and he let me have access to his basement where he had about 10,000 records, all unsorted records down there, and he let me have a dig through that and just take out anything that I was interested in. Obviously I had to pay him for them, but he wasn't asking much money. So this is one of many that I got there. Used on a 2-pack track, not the first to use it. De La Soul Is Dead album, they actually used exactly the same sample on 2 skits on that album. Arrested Development also used it, they sped it up quite a lot, but they used it in 94. So this track in 95 definitely isn't the first use of it, it's probably just the best known use of it on the 2-pack track. So let's see what the next track is.
Yo, I be your Black Panther, all in your dreams. Up against the wall, they tell me cause you can't see peace. And you ain't supposed to die a natural death, that.
Yeah, that Group Home album, that Living Proof, such a great album from the 90s. Produced by Primo as well. It's got that real distinct Primo sound to that particular beat we've listened to there. But yeah, so many great tracks on that album. Definitely still one of my all-time favourites from the 90s. So let's have a check of the next one. D&D All-Stars, produced by Primo. Really great track. I've done a recent video on my MPC where I've done a full breakdown of a few different Primo tracks, including that one. So I've shown exactly how that sample was chopped up, how it was replayed. So if that's something you're interested in, give that one a check as well. Jack Bruce, born in Scotland, was in the group Cream. That record has been sampled a few different times in hip-hop tracks. That's just one of a few different uses from it. Smith & Wesson use off the debut album The Shining. Great album still, one that I still listen to regularly. DJ Shadow, Midnight in a Perfect World. That track is just full of many, many different samples. Everything that DJ Shadow produces, it is all made up from samples. Really, really great producer. So let's see what the next track is.
Little mans to come kill me, but on the contrary, I packs the Mac Millie, squeezed off on them, left the paramedics breathing soft on them. What's your name?
Ohio Players there. Originally went by the name Ohio Untouchables. Used on that Jay-Z track off his debut album, produced by Clark Kent. Really great track there, that Brooklyn's Finest.
one day about 6 o'clock, I'm woke up by the sound of my buzzer and a car or a truck.
Ahmad Jamal yet again. This is a really good chop by Primo. He's taken that long segment and just taken one small piece and just used that as the entire track. Jeru's second album, Wrath of the Math. Let's have a listen to the next one.
I seen some cold nights and bloody days. They grabbed me in bullet spray. They used me wrong, so I sing this song to this day.
Primo again with a sample off exactly the same album. Again showing how good he is at chopping samples. The way he's chopped this up for this Nas track, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I really like what he's done with that one. The Mohawks there with the Champ, hugely sampled track that one. It's been used many different times. The Mohawks are actually a British group. One of the members, Alan Hawkshaw, he's very much known for doing the library music records on KPM especially. So I've mentioned in other videos, library music records were ones specifically made for use in film, TV, radio productions. And they are very popular now for hip-hop producers to take samples from them.
I find the show, rhyme till it's time to go. I'm designed to blow, my mind's inclined to flow. Yo, my MO making all kind of dough.
Monty Alexander, who is a Jamaican-born jazz pianist. That Rakim track, produced by Pete Rock, and it's on Rakim's debut solo album. So let's see what the next one is.
Rugged like Rwanda, don't wander far or get chopped up. Quick to rush the spot like baby urine, get mopped up. Tags that spray your hall with rap aerosol.
Company Flow, another great, pretty much underground group from the 90s. LP was part of them, who's obviously moved on and produced some really great stuff over the years. Went to see Company Flow live in Manchester in the 90s. Really great gig. Got to hang out with them afterwards. We may or may not have had a smoke with them outside the club afterwards. Can't confirm or deny that. Anyway, great track. Let's move on to the next one. Gangstar, Primo production again. Another one where he's showing how good he is at chopping up samples, flipping it onto that royalty track. Really great. Let's hear the next track. Black Eyed Peas there, who actually started out as a pure hip-hop group before they went all commercial, before Fergie joined them. Yeah, definitely have a listen to their early albums if you've not already. You'll see such a difference, pure hip-hop productions. Dick Hyman. You'd think that was a made-up name, but it isn't. That's actually his genuine name, or Richard, but he goes by the name Dick Hyman. Had to include it, just for that quality name. Anyway, let's see what the next track is.
Through the storms of days after, and to the earth from the sun through triple darkness to blast ya with a force that can't be compared to any
John Dankworth there also went by the name Johnny Dankworth. He is another British composer really known for being on the KPM Library Music Records. Really good chop there by Primo yet again on another great Gangstar track. The Beatnuts with Turn It Out there, taking a sample from a big band music track, flipping that into a great hip hop track, released on the B-side of Watch Out Now 12.
I promise not to tell.
Check 1 2 check 1 2 Jack wreck the rhyme. Hell yeah. When I'm on the mic, I like to speak free, yo.
John Phillips there, who was part of the group Mamas and the Papas. Another one taken from a movie soundtrack, flipped by Loop Pack, which was Madlib's group that he was in. Really great track, that one. Let's see what the next one is.
It's like a blizzard. Soon as I got home from ATL, looked into my baby face. My boo was like, well, I know your types and clientele. Thoughts, needs.
Doom there, such a great track. Came out on that album in 99, but was actually released in 97 on his second ever 12-inch he put out. Another one that I bought at the time and stupidly sold it long time ago. Sold it on eBay, worth quite a lot of money now. So, great track anyway. Let's listen to the next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nostradamus, everybody watching. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yet another Nas track produced by the legend Primo. Another one where he's flipped it really well, chopped it up, made it into a great track. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Quite a long one, this one, but it's one that I've really enjoyed putting together. Hope you found some of the extra info I've given to you useful or interesting in some way. If you did, drop a comment, let us know, give it a like. If you want to see more of these releases, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.